Tell your dad to get the meatballs out of the oven. We've got a spicy one on our hands. Folks, in this video, I'm going to introduce you to Yuri, the newest marksman. Very cool dual faction membership here. Nightmare and Piercer marksman coming to the game. She's Kigiri's bond skill partner. And then we finally got the ancient exclusive Nightmare Lord RYGAR. Before I get into it, I want to say in this video, yes, I'll give you a nice little taste. We're going to do a little Nightmare 4 Drake's Chasm showcase. However, for a full guide, beyond just a general breakdown and introduction to these characters, for a full guide, the next 2 days, one day I'll do a guide on Yuri, the next day I'll do a guide on RYGAR. Do you want to see RYGAR tomorrow, or do you want to see Yuri tomorrow? The next one will be on Friday. Let me know who you want in the comments. If you want RYGAR first tomorrow, put an R in the comments. If you want Yuri first, put a Y in the comments. Pretty easy. Let's get to it. How the heck are you, everybody? I am Fastidious. Welcome to my channel. We've got 2 brand spanking new heroes coming this weekend, one in just 3 days' time and one in 4 days' time, those being respectively Yuri, very cool Kitsuna hero. I hope I said that right. I've been practicing. And then we've got our new ancient exclusive Nightmare Lord RYGAR. Very long awaited is this guy. After the craziness of that period from Thanksgiving to New Year, we kind of got a little bit of a lull with not too much going on the past week or two. That's over, and it seems it's going to be over for a while. Why do I say that? Well, 2 heavily anticipated heroes. By the way, if you didn't know, Yuri is the partner, the girlfriend, the bond person for Kigiri. Very, very exciting. And then RYGAR, I mean, it's been well over half a year, closer to a year that we've been talking about. When is the ancient exclusive Nightmare Lord coming? He's coming this weekend, baby, on Saturday. So we're getting this. It is heavily rumored by not leaks that we are getting a banner for Beelzebub, aka Bubba, the weekend following this one. Certainly, if it's not that weekend, it will be the weekend after, or the weekend after that. It's coming very soon, very likely much sooner rather than later. And then before we know it, Chinese New Year, Valentine's Day, it's going to be bing, bang, boom season all over again. So without further ado, we don't need an intro. Let's get right into it. What are we doing in this video? So I mentioned it up front. We're going to do a fairly quick walkthrough of these characters, but have no fear. Full guides on both are coming. Remember to vote in the comments. Y for Yuri first, R for RYGAR first, but we'll take them down. I actually know these characters pretty well now, so that's fun. RYGAR will do the same thing, obviously, and then after we go through those 2, we're heading into battle. We're going to do Nightmare 4, and we're actually going to run this comp right here, everyone at A0. Yovar is there just to be a Lord. Everyone else there is for DPS besides our 2 supports, Hollow and Dolores. We're going to run no Laurel strat, no cycling. And that is because it wouldn't be fair for comparison to the heroes that don't benefit from the cycling, namely our fighter heroes, since only one of them can be in Laurel range. So to get a nice, strong comparison, we're doing everyone at A0, no Laurel, and it's going to be pretty darn cool. We got our 3 fighters, we got our 3 marksmen, and we've got our 2 units here. I'm really excited to show you what is going to happen. I'll tell you right out of the gate, I'm not trying to bury the lead or anything. Both these heroes are very good. The question is, how very good are they? I'm certainly starting to develop an opinion on that. More to come. Let's get into it. Let's start breaking it all down with Yuri. So she's going to be on 15x, Special Invocation of Spirits, as well as Special Divine Summoning. So she'll have a 15x rate up with the blues and the diamonds, as well as with the gold Divine Summons. She's also paired with Artemis. More on that tomorrow in the Should You Summon video. But Artemis, if you need help with Gear Raid 1 or Gear Raid 4, aka Gear Dungeon 1, he's the GOAT. He really is. So Yuri. Actually, better yet, let me show you on the test server so you can see all the skills maxed out. She is a Kitsuna, which from what I understand is something from Japanese lore. She's got 9 tails. I know people counted them. I think for a certain kind of person, this is the best hero, best looking hero in the game, right? Let's be honest. I don't think I'm that person, but she obviously looks really cool. I love the art, the ink on the back. So let's get into, actually before the kit, we might as well get into base stats. This is somewhere she doesn't like super duper excel. It's not horrible, but you don't see the greatest base stats on our single target marksman. That's just kind of a fact of life in this game. So if you look right next to me over there, she's got 3725 base attack. Let's compare that to Hex, for example. All these heroes are going to be A0. There it's 3897. That's pretty significant, right? We're talking about almost 175 more base attack on Hex. Let's take a peek at Silas over here as well for extra comparison. He's coming in at 3778. So she's really close but it's she's low. She is low. There's no other way to put it. That's that. Defense is basement levels, but that's pretty typical. Same with magic res. Marksmen are always squishy. 12 cost, completely typical. 2.0 second basic attack interval. That is standard for any single target marksman, which we love to see because you're going to want her to go fast, which we're going to discuss when we talk about her interaction with the Nightmare Lords. If you choose to run her in a Nightmare comp, she obviously, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, has dual faction membership in Piercer and Nightmare, which is wholly unique in this game, and she becomes only the second Nightmare marksman in the whole game after Hot Sit. Very, very cool. She can go really fast. She's really bursty. You're going to like it. Everything else is really normal. 14 Rage Regen Auto. This is her passive rage generation, ticks of rage per second, and then her 10 Rage Regen off of basic. This is what her Rage Regen percentage scales off of, so 39.5%. You see we added another 13.95 plus our collection bonuses. So there you go. The stats aren't terrible, but they're definitely not good, which is interesting because with the way power creep goes in this game, right? Hey, it's a new hero. Oh, every stat is completely bonkers through the roof. I mean, Wukong, wow. Her kit is very good, though. Very, very good. So let's discuss it. It seems more complicated than it is. It's going to feel like I'm going fast, but don't worry. Like I said, either tomorrow or Friday, you're getting that Yuri guide. We'll take it nice and slow. But for now, let's keep the pace kind of up. Every 5 basics, she's going to trigger a Chaos Orb that deals 160% damage to the target, as well as 4 surrounding enemies. So it's a full AoE. They're calling it the target, which is cool because it lets it be coded as single target damage. And then the 4 surrounding enemies, they're all getting hit by the 160%. It's pretty nice. Something else that makes this a little better than it sounds, it's not like after every 5 basic attacks, the next attack she does this. She's going to do her 5 basics, and then separately this happens. So it's like doubling up parallel bonus damage, which is obviously superior. Then right after that, after she triggers that orb, she's going to deal 50% damage 6 times to random targets in range. So you can see if there's only 1 or 2, really 1, we're talking boss content here, 1 target in range, it's a sextuple hitter. Right out of the gate, I'd be shocked if she's not, like her and Yovar is not the core to the #1 meta Styx team, because she absolutely spams hits and she hits really hard. You'll see she even has multi-hit on her basic over here. There's one drawback, isn't the word, but you'll see I was hopeful there might be a glitchy interaction with this that I'll discuss. There isn't. You see you got this sextuple hitter, 50% damage, so it goes up to 300%. And then you also see a separate thing. Whenever there's a period in the talent, you're on to like a whole new thing. I guess maybe not here because it says then, but this is just a permanent thing. Anytime ever she's dealing damage to Airborne, it's just plus 20% damage. She's phenomenal in Gear Raid 3. So you'll see that when I do the guide. She is phenomenal in Gear Raid 3. Absolutely triple S instant Gear Raid 3 unit, about as good as anyone, including like the likes of Silas and Yovar and Nyx. She's so hot sit. She's that good. Okay, so the kit. So what's the interesting interaction? She's got a double hitter here. It starts at 50% per hit, goes up to 60, so 120% damage. Really typical. I was kind of hoping maybe they coded it so that one use of this, one basic attack, because it's a double hitter, would register here as 2 basic attacks. I went in there on 1x, nice and slow, and I counted it. No. So technically she has to get 10 hits from this standard double hitter basic attack. The basic attack interval needs to trigger 5 times to trigger the talent, which is fair, but that'd be pretty broken if every 5 basics she's triggering this twice. I would have loved that. But no, we didn't get that. But it's a good one. Nice double hitter, makes her even better for Styx, and just it's strong, just like the rest of her kit. She's very good. Let's go to the ultimate now. Needle of Torment. We see a range we have never, ever seen before in this game. So this is the same range as Aelin or Leia with her ultimate. However, for them, they're centered in the middle. She's all shifted to the side, so she's at the back of it. Crazy range that goes in front of her. It's really, really significant. That's a really unique range on the ultimate, so we definitely enjoy that. Here's an extra thing. When a target dies during the skill, she gains 5% rage, and if there's still time left on the ultimate, she'll move to one other enemy nearby the fallen target. This obviously doesn't help against bosses, but in other stuff, you know, if you're thinking Gear Raid 3, Void Rift, Campaign, maybe Furious Torrent, depending on your account, that's pretty darn good. The extra rage certainly is nice. 5% isn't crazy, but it's definitely something. Let's already start with the bond skill now, because this is really cool. Obviously, you need to get Kigiri. I would think after releasing her, people are going to like her. They're going to, it's a guarantee they're going to rerun Kigiri. I would think, I want to say sooner rather than later. It's not, I can't imagine it's going to be that soon. I mean, who knows? But it's not like we're going to have to wait another half a year, I think, for Kigiri to come back. That is my prediction. So you'll see there's two things here. The Chaos Orb triggered by the talent now deals 100% increased damage to the main target. So remember, before it's 160% damage both to the main target and then 4 surrounding enemies. The 4 surrounding enemies will still take the 160% damage, but she is dealing 260% with that orb now to the main target. And then separate effect, after the orb deals damage, it's going to restore 10% HP to 2 allied units within 3 tiles of the orb. You'll see the orb in the battle, but a 3-tile radius is just huge. 2 of your units are going to get healed now. It can't happen to her, but it's going to happen to other people. And it's going to scale off of their HP. It easily could be game saving, right? Run saving in Guild Boss 2, where you just need a little extra support when you're deep, deep, deep in those runs. This is a nice, cool little heal that should be happening about every 5 to 6 seconds, depending on how fast you build her. Just remember, it won't happen during the ultimate, because during the ultimate, she stops doing her basic attacks. Let's go to the first passive now, the non-bond passive. The talent and the ultimate inflicts defense reduction on the target's hit for 5 seconds, and this is now the best defense reduction in the game. It comes in at minus 25%, which is second only to Estrid, but Estrid doesn't have 100% uptime. You can keep it pretty high, but it is dependent upon how you build her, if you have her A5, if she's fast enough. Here, if you build Yuri right, you're going to get like 100% uptime on this, and it's stronger than the other options, the common options, Torador and Ares, stuff like that. They have minus 20%. This is minus 25%. Huge for any late and endgame content. Phenomenal in Guild Boss 2. Basically, do the math. It can come from the talent, which is every 5 basic attacks. That's when that happens. And also, it's not just single target. If there's other targets there, the defense reduction will land on any enemy targets hit by the talent or the ultimate. The ultimate obviously is single target, but the big bursts coming from the Chaos Orb and the extra random sextuple hitter, the 6x hitter, that could hit other targets. So it's not just single target, but it will always land on the main target. This is triggering every 5 seconds. You get the Chaos Orb. So if she's at a 1.0 second attack interval or lower, it's going to be 100% uptime, because that minus 25 defense reduction is, let me move my head out of the way a bit. That is going to last for 5 seconds. So pretty dang good. And then obviously during the ultimate, it's continuous. Those full 10 seconds, it does stay up. This is phenomenal. The last passive here, Seductive Glance. Each time the talent is triggered, increases attack by 10%. This will max out at 4 stacks. After that point, it will reset in 20 seconds. So do the math on this again, right? If she's a 1.0 second attack interval, she's triggering her talent every 5 seconds. So after 5 seconds, it's plus 10%. After 10 seconds, so 2 periods of 5 seconds, it's 20%. After 15 seconds, you're at 30%. Then after 20 seconds, you're maxing out at a 40% post-deployment attack boost. That is huge. And then that will last another 20 seconds. Then you lose it and you start rebuilding it right back again. So you only have 5 seconds where you don't have any boost, at the start of the whole cycle. And then the whole thing lasts for 40 seconds, right? As you stack it up, stack it up, stack it up. Really nice stuff. Really, really good. She's a great hero. Awakenings, that's going to be covered more extensively in the actual guide. Again, remember to vote in the comments Y for Yuri, R for Rygar. But I'll take you through it lightning quick. At A1 over here, when she deals damage, any kind of damage, any singular instance of damage, so the double hitters, those count as 2 instances, there's a 10% chance of inflicting stun on the target. This definitely will not allow her to be a primary, like solo stunner like Nazim or Helga, but easily, like her and another person can clearly full stun the Death Saw phase. Even just during the ultimate, if you time it out, which easily you can cycle with the Death Saw, you are going to get in the ultimate 5 hits every second for 10 seconds. So that's 50 hits at 10%. You should land on average 10 stuns. She also has a lot of other instances of damage from her talents, the double hitters on her basic. She'll cover you for at least 4 or 5 stuns. Combine her with another good stun hero or even decent stun hero, they can take care of it. Imagine her in an A3 Sun Wukong. You're absolutely cooking. The A2 over here, plus 300 attack. We like that a lot because she has the low base attack. Her A3 is the strongest part of her awakenings for sure. Damage increases as the number of targets in basic attack range decreases. So if there's just one target, it's all the way up to 40%. If there's 5 or more, it's 8%. But that's amazing. Bosses, there's always just one target. So that means against bosses, she permanently, the whole fight, has a 40% damage increase. That is about as strong as it gets. With the A4 plus 8% penetration, she ignores 8% of the defense extra. And finally, the A5 reduces AoE damage taken by 50%. I've done a limited amount of testing on this. I'm almost certain it's only the damage she takes. but I can't 100% say that. You can see it can be triggered up to 1 time every 20 seconds, so it can help her tank some big blasts, particularly in like Semra. So that is going to be the Kitsuna. She is hype. Exactly how good is she? You're going to have to see over these next couple days. We'll have answers for you, don't worry, before her banner comes, but I'll tell you right now, she's very, very good. That's her basement is very good. So let's go to the next hero now, RYGAR. Let's keep going at a fairly fast speed. RYGAR is pretty darn cool. Let's start with the Lord skill. The big difference between him and Torador, besides obvious things, how they look, one's a fighter, one's a defender, so on, is always that second line in the Lord skill for a legendary Lord hero. So let me show that to you now. Let's start with Torador. Torador's broken because he has this very simple additional line. If you look at everything up to here where it says reduced by 15%, it's the same for RYGAR and Torador, but what Torador's got is his like signature legendary Lord skill is faction team members, all Nightmare units with him, their basic attacks have a 30% chance of landing a bonus hit. That is so strong. That is more ults, more rage cycling, more special effects because of basics. Think of Yuri we just talked about. 30% of the time, those double hitters are hitting again. It becomes easier and faster to cycle Yuri's talent. Much easier to get that full uptime on the defense break, even if you don't have that 1.0 second build. This is crazy and synergizes perfectly. RYGAR's is really cool. I'm going to read it to you, but it's entirely contingent upon him being used on the field and triggering his ultimate. So, though these effects I'm about to read that come with RYGAR's ultimate from his Lord skill, though they're very strong, they're completely contingent upon you having him on the field and ulting at the right times and being in play. Torador can just be your Lord and then you don't even use him in the battle. Or he fills a really special role we're going to discuss later, which is like being a tank. And very often you want someone doing two things. You don't want to just have a tank as one of your heroes. You want one of your Lords to be a tank later on because you have such limited spots. So you're losing that here. So is it worth it? What happens during RYGAR's ult? First part of the Lord skill is the exact same as Torador. You got the 15% basic attribute increase. You've got the attack speed boost up to 4 deployed units, capping out at 35%. You have the slight reduction in healing. And then you have this. When the ultimate is triggered, faction team members gain the following buffs. Basic attack damage is increased by 25%. That's really good, especially on heroes whose ultimate just like rev up their basic attack, because basically this becomes all damage for those heroes. If you think of someone like Volca, for example, another good example would be Twyla. And then a second effect, each basic attack restores 3% HP. So during the effect of the ultimate, that's really strong. Improved basic attack damage and healing, so you could like stack this with Volca and probably run Nightmares without healers in a lot of content, but these buffs will only last for the duration of the ultimate. So that's like a huge kind of caveat in his thing. So basically he's going to need to be strong enough that you don't want to just bring him as a Lord, but you want to bring him in to use him. Otherwise, all he's doing for you is the attack speed thing like Torador or Wrath, and then he's giving you the faction team member basic attribute boost. So let's figure out what the kit is all about. We got to start with the talent. His hammer attack has a 20% chance to inflict stun on the target, while his axe attack has a 20% chance to inflict defense reduction. And you'll see it's the same as Torador, a minus 20% reduction. It lasts 5 seconds. So not to the level of Yuri or Estrid, but still very good. So what is a hammer attack and an axe attack? You can just look at him. His right hand, he has a hammer. His left hand, he has an axe. Depending on what he uses, he's going to land those debuffs. Let's go to the basic. You can see he's got 2 tile range in front of him. So that is really a near must for any fighter you want to use in content outside of like bosses or maybe single target arena. What does he do with the basic? 40% chance to attack with the hammer and deal 120% damage. Also a 40% chance to attack with the axe and deal 120% damage. So 2/5 of the time, right, he's going to do the hammer and he's going to land that stun. So 2/5 of the time, he's going to do that hammer and he's going to have the pretty small chance to land that stun, 20%. So 40% of the time, he has a 20% chance to land the stun. And then likewise, 40% of the time, 2/5 of the time, he's going to do the axe, and he's got a 1 in 5 chance, a 20% chance to land the defense reduction. So you can kind of do the math already, right? It's 2/5 times 1/5. You're talking 2 out of every 25 times it's going to happen this way of any normal basic. 2 out of 25 times he's going to land a stun. 2 out of 25 times he's going to land the defense break. That is 8% of the time, right? 1/5 of 40%. You can see what I'm saying. Just the basics, when they're not revved up by the rest of his kit, you're going to see not too cool. 20% of the time, though, he's going to use both of them, right? So he's going to do 120% in this hand, 120% in that hand, and each one comes with their 20% chance to do their things. So let's do the ultimate now. During his ultimate, the basic attacks get revved up in a big way. He's a basic attack boy. Everything he does is basic attack based. All his basic attacks now are Warlord's Might. So all of them are going to be the double hitters with both hands. So both of them are getting those chances. Moreover, both those chances are doubled. So every single basic, he is going to have the 40% chance to land a stun, 40% chance to land the defense reduction. It's obviously very, very good, but again, nothing is guaranteed. Further, every 3 attacks triggers an earthquake that deals 300% damage to one main target and 70% damage to up to 5 of the target's nearby enemies. So it can hit up to 6 units, the main target and 5 others. The splash damage is not too strong, but the main damage is solid. This is like all the damage in his kit, right? That's basically it. I'll take you through the passives now. Warlord's Might can ignore 20% of the target's defense. So when he triggers that with the 20% over here, that's great. And then the full 25-second duration of the ultimate. I should mention, by the way, the ultimate's 900 cost, 700 to start. So pretty close to an instant ult, as I like to say. You'll also see when it is triggered, it increases his attack by 5% for 10 seconds, stacks up to 3 times. So this will be at max stacks the whole ult, right? Just takes 3 hits because he's going to trigger it guaranteed every time. That's a 15% boost. Otherwise, in general, with a 20% chance, he has a pretty good shot to keep it up, right? Every time he hits it for the Warlord's Might, the 20%, he'll refresh those stacks. But again, nothing's guaranteed. There's a chunk of RNG in this kit, if you can't tell. Now we have calloused hands. Every 60 seconds, he's going to resist 1 instance of damage. When triggered, he increases his damage by 25% for 15 seconds. Each time the hero deals damage, he reduces the cooldown of this effect by 1 second. That's pretty cool. It definitely incentivizes you to build him really speedy. He is your typical fighter if we want to take a peek at the base stats with an attack interval at base of 2.6 seconds. So you can see the build here, we've got 1.5 seconds. You can knock a lot of time off of this, right? In 15 seconds, you'll get 10 hits. So that's going to bring this down to 50 seconds. So you can see it's going to be in that 30 to 40 second range. It's pretty good. It definitely will allow him to tank a lot of content. I'll tell you right off the bat, I think he's going to be like phenomenal in single target arena, especially if you have other good Nightmare units like a Twyla and a Wukong, for example. But yeah, he's definitely still not a tank. He's going to have that tankiness component in a Legendary Lord, kind of like Valderon, but obviously not to the insane level of Valderon. That is going to be the kit, guys. Very quickly, the Awakenings. I'm not going to go deep on this at all. It's a Legendary Lord. I'll tell you, the A3 is phenomenal. The ult lasts 10 seconds. So now, keep in mind, the Lord effect only happens during the ult. Typically, that's 25 seconds with skill ups. Now it's 35 seconds. This is pretty freaking game-changing, I would say, especially if you're running him with like Hollow or Eloin or different sources of rage regen that he can be building during the ult. So by the time he finishes this 35-second ult, he's going to be close to ready to go again. This kind of breaks him open in a certain way, but you can see otherwise it's kind of going to be alternating uptime between his ult happening and not happening, which means him lending his Lord effects to his faction allies or not. By himself, like as a solo dude, he's a really strong guy. You can see it's very content dependent because you need to have him on the field, where Tordor you don't, and also he's not a tank and Tordor is. So for a lot of content where you just need to bring a tank anyway, do you need another fighter? Is he that much better than the other fighters? I guess let's find out. So without further ado, let me take you through these builds lightning quick. They're all just in basic, very high level Soulbound Arcana or Infernal Roar. Let's start with Wukong. You can see he's in a Soulbound Arcana set. They're all insanely good and comparable, but this was the second best. Yuri's in the first best. Hex is in the third best. You can just get a sense. Big stats, big crit damage. They're all in the same thing. 1 attack bonus, right side piece, 2 crit damage bonus, and it's all really good ancient gear. Here is Twyla. She's an Infernal Roar, the second best Infernal Roar. The best one is on Rygar over here. I'll take a second if you want to peek at the stats. You'll see very consistently these guys are all in that like 375 to 385% crit damage range. They're all capped. They're all somewhere between 300 and 350 attack speed. I tried to be really consistent. You can see there's Rygar following the same thing. Now we've got Hex over here. This was the worst of the Soulbound Arcana sets. I mean, they're all fantastic. You'll see the crit damage is absolutely through the roof, so maybe there's an argument for Guild Boss 1. This is even the best, but the attack's pretty low for what we're trying to do here. We will have Dolores, though. Silas is in some good Infernal Roar. And then, yeah, here is Yuri, the Lady of the Hour. Let's actually take this moment to go through artifacts now. Everyone is A0, as you can see, and everyone, I promise you, is max skilled. So for the artifact, I'm trying to keep it really consistent. If they have an exclusive, I'm running them in a max out exclusive. Otherwise, I'm running them in a maxed out best in slot. The one exception being I'm not using the new artifacts yet because I still want to do more testing and I still want to make a video on that. So you'll see we've got Yuri here in a maxed out Spirit Siphon. We've got Silas in a maxed out Eye of Penitence. I mean, yes, it's like, is it fair that he's an exclusive? I think so, because it's like these other ones, it's the reality, right? Wukong has an exclusive, Twyla doesn't. Silas has one, so far Yuri doesn't, though I would expect she's going to get one. So max out Eye of Penitence, max out Suture of Copris for Hex, max out exclusive Golden Cudgel for Sun Wukong, and then I tried to keep these guys even, so they're both in a Scarlet Hunt. This way we won't have them summoning Wailing Skull, Shadow Guards getting in the way of Sun Wukong. So there you have it, guys. The final two things I guess I'll show you. Actually, it is kind of important I show you. They're both these guys are not in full Wings of Grace sets or Invigoration because I don't want certain DPS heroes to get attack buffs and certain ones not to. I want to keep it even. So you can see I broke up the Wings of Grace with this one, but I did want Dolores in her exclusive, so we don't have any RNG. Very high attack, obviously, just over 14k. She's in a maxed out Golden Scarab. And then finally over here with Hollow. This is an awesome Hollow build. It's broken set, but you'll see almost 150% Rage Regen before Pantheon. She's at just one tick under 600 attack speed. She's got good attack, but it's not too high, so she's not going to overheal. And then she's in the Euphoric Orb. So let's head into battle. If you have any predictions, you can write them in the comments. I'll also show you the fixed overall statistics in Guild Boss 1. I am not convinced it's 100% fixed, but we can kind of test it out right now. I haven't tested it out yet today. Obviously, it's glitchy right now on the global server, but we'll check it out here on test. And then I will say I'm going to run Yuri as a Nightmare unit. I just think it's a nice, since it's like the two new Nightmare heroes, let's just do that. But there's pros and cons to running her in each. I would say, quite frankly, with Rygar as the Lord, I would definitely choose Yovar as the Lord for her over him. But if it was Torador, I'd probably put her with Torador. That's just like my gut call. So without further ado, let's get into it. Remember, there's no Invig sets, there's no Wings of Grace, so the placements are pretty darn easy. We're also not doing Laurel, so we don't have to worry about that. You can put Yuri here. You can put Silas here. Where is Hex? We can put Hex here, Dolores here. We'll put Hollow here. Rygar can go up there. Then we will get Twyla, and finally Sun Wukong can have all the space over here to put his extra monkeys. So there you go, guys, off to the races. I don't think I'm going to be doing too much talking. I don't think there's too much to say here besides let's see who deals the most damage. I'll try to line things up with Dolores' ult as much as possible. Obviously, if I get early ult opportunities like that, I'm not just going to sit and wait. With Rygar, we're probably just, and Twyla as well, probably just going to spam their ults as much as possible because like we need to get, Rygar needs to be ulting to give everyone the help. Don't worry, if you really want it, I can do it sooner rather than later, but I'm going to make content directly comparing Rygar using his Lord skill in a battle like this versus just using Torador and not deploying him. But for now, no huge issue, I think. I am going to wait for Sun Wukong and Dolores, but not for the others because it's just taking too long. But because Sun Wukong's such a short burst, there's no reason not to. Also, if it's not clear, we're obviously going to put up a huge amount of damage here. But I will say to some of you, it might be less than you think. Awakenings are really important, and that's something I want to discuss after this battle, but I don't want to spoil the results. But once you see the results, I do want to have a big discussion about Awakenings. I shouldn't say big. The video's almost over, don't worry. But yeah, I want to just explain something, right? Maybe you guys already know what I'm getting at when it comes to Awakenings on your heroes and Rygar and that kind of thing. Do you guys know what I'm getting at? I think maybe some of you do. So I'll tell you, we're probably going to get somewhere around 60k, it's looking like. So nothing too insane, but also pretty good for all A0s. We are bringing 2 ancient exclusive lords. Also, you'll see like Hex is going to underperform here without a doubt. Even as I say that, he's still doing great because of that maxed out Sutra. Hex is going to underperform because Laurel cycling is what makes him so bonkers in Guild Boss 1 because he ults the whole freaking time. If you have him A3 or higher and you've got Laurel, it's just like endless, right? But yeah, I need to keep it even. I can't have some people getting Laurel, some people not. We can do that in another video if you want. We'll wait for Twyla since it's so close here. Down goes the dragon. All right, trigger. So a sneak peek. I don't think this is right. The damage is way too high, right? I think we can agree on that. Clearly, they're not all putting up 140 million yet. But you can see Yuri is in the back. I believe they're just doing something with it. They're doing like 2x on the damage or maybe 2.5x. But usually it seems like the hierarchy at least is correct. Just past 40,000. Tell you, it's obviously we're not getting as much damage without Laurel, but it's a lot easier without her, right? I don't have to worry about all the timings and the pickups. I just got to make sure I'm not mistiming any ults with Dolores when they do line up. For example, here, we're not going to use Sung Wukong and Yuri until Dolores is ready. Silas, you can always use a bit early because he has a delayed animation. Damage is higher than I was expecting, so that's cool. It's going to be much closer to 70k than to 60k. Home stretch here, last 30 seconds. And yeah, I know not every timing and trigger has been perfectly optimal. That's not really the point of this. We're just setting a baseline and trying to get an image. What are these new heroes about? We can just even throw it on auto now because there's such little time left. All right, so there you can see it. There's no shot in the world that this Hex just put up 300 million damage. I think we all know that. So there you go. The overall stats thing on Guild Boss 1 is still bugged. It's not beautiful like Guild Boss 2. I guess I will say that we did break 71,000, almost got 72,000. If we look over here, yeah, it looks like they're doing just more than double, right? But the order was correct. And you can see, very interesting, Yuri is in the back. I think for Yuri to truly be, these are like I picked like the best units, right? For A0, the best units in the game are Twyla and Sung Wukong, so I thought that'd be a good comparison for Rygar. So you can see he held his own, though he obviously is worse. And obviously Sung Wukong with his exclusive is just like broken, so that wasn't the perfectly fair thing. Here we got Hex with the Copris, so you can see how good that actually is, even without the Laurel cycling, even at A0. Silas pretty good. Twyla pretty good, and then Yuri in the back. Yuri's gonna want that Awaken level 3, I think, to hang on the level of these guys, or maybe I need to play around with a faster build to really start spamming those basic attacks to take better advantage of the Chaos Orbs and stuff. But she still is really good. I mean, this is really heavy competition. You know, bonded Silas, bonded Twyla with Hex, Hex with the maxed out Sutra, all that kind of stuff. So what was I talking about with the Awakenings? This is how I want to conclude it. As you can see right off the bat, definitively, Rygar is not that good. At least for the Drake, right? He's not to the level of like Sung Wukong with the exclusive or Twyla with the bond skill. Maybe without the bond skill, Twyla would have been at like 93 million or something, or 90 million. It's not all the difference in the world, but he's not better than them. And actually, I would argue he's probably worse than them. We could play around with Sung Wukong in a base promo exclusive or Twyla without Hex, but he's not, right? So what am I getting at? To use him in a battle like this, you can only deploy 3 fighters that are going to be in Dolores range, unless you're using a different strategy with Constance, which who knows, with him might become meta. But as it stands now, with the typical setup like you just saw, you'd be like saying, all right, am I going to use this A0? It's almost certainly going to be A0, right? If you have him A3, you're probably going to use him. But if you don't have him A3, am I going to use this A0, A1, A2 Rygar over my A5 Lust or my A3 Arrogance, or... You know, there's a bunch of, I have an A5 Salazar, for an example, right? There's a lot of things where you can maybe think of other heroes where it's like, is he good enough to just not bring Torador and then just bring another Nightmare fighter? And I'm actually not convinced of that yet. So there's a nice little baseline. Yuri, I do still think is awesome. I think she really shines the most with Torador. If you want those extra basic attacks, she's not benefiting from any of that basic attack boost on the ultimate when she's ulting, since those don't count as basics. So not a great pairing, but even Twyla, who is benefiting, right? All her stuff are counting as basics. It's not like she went through the roof or anything from Rygar. So I think she would have been better with Yovar, but still would no question underperform these two. I think the A3 is when she's really going to shine in boss content. I think until then, I think she has a lot of PvP potential we'll have to see more about. And in general, for progression, she's going to be a PvP monster. When we do that guide, you'll see she's phenomenal in Gear Aid 3. But there you have it, guys. Thank you. I know it's a slightly long video, but I wanted to talk about both of them together. Again, make sure in the comments to let me know which guide you want to see first. Do you want to see Y for Yuri? Do you want to see R for Rygar? The next 2 days, you'll get those 2 guides. So soon enough, you'll have them both. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe to the channel. Share with your mother. I've been Fastidious, and I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.